Our top story. The entire Norwegian nation is shaken by Friday's killing rampage as it mourns 93 people massacred in the Oslo bombing and youth camp shooting. Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg has said the 2 days since the attacks have felt like an eternity. Well, RT's Daniel Bushell is in the capital live for us in Oslo. Daniel, a somber day for Norway. Now, can you describe the atmosphere in the streets right now?
Yes, it's a day of mourning. There's a memorial service behind me, attended by King Harald of Norway, looking very somber. The Prime Minister of Norway says that the 2 days since the tragedy have seemed like an eternity. The people obviously are tense. They're still trying to understand how something like this could have happened. And the police say they are still looking. There's potential that there are more victims to be found on the island disaster just outside Oslo. There is criticism rising for the police that it took them from an hour to an hour and a half to actually find the killer and to stop the massacre. So there is criticism of authorities over this tragic incident.
Well, the main suspect has admitted he's solely responsible for the atrocities. Has he said anything else?
Yes, he said that he wanted a change in society, that he wanted to force revolution, that it was an atrocious but necessary act to make the Norwegian people realise and the society realise that it's going wrong. He said it's not a crime. And more details are emerging about the suspect himself, who posted a rant, a 1,500-page rant on the internet, saying how he went to various countries, Czech Republic in the European Union with its lax gun laws, is what he said, to look for guns. And he explained how he was going to carry out this act. So you can maybe understand why there's anger among community here that he wasn't caught before he was allowed to carry out his crimes. He expressed violent anti-Muslim views. He was briefly a member of the Progress Party here in Norway, which is anti-immigrant, and the ruling Labour Party is who he attacked. First through a blast in the city centre. The government headquarters were hit by a car bomb. Then apparently he went to an island just outside Oslo where he attacked a group of children. He was dressed in a police uniform, he had a gun, and he was shouting, "I'll kill everyone, everyone must die." We have pictures of children swimming for survival, hiding in the rocks, and dramatic pictures of a 10-year-old boy being saved. So the tragedy of a nation really here, more now in this report.
Brave Christina Ilke was hit by the Oslo car bomb explosion. In a daze and surrounded by broken glass, she stayed in the blast zone to help the wounded.
The waiters just standing chatting, and then suddenly you could just feel like it was like kind of like a fist just hitting through your body. People after, they had like glass bits in their eyes, covered in blood. You know, they got smashed glass all over them, the skin and everything.
This shop owner patched up victims before giving out hot drinks. As a nation which has never suffered at the hands of terrorists before, he says, Norwegians just didn't know how to react.
A lot of alarms from cars and buildings, of course, and people shouting, screaming, running around.
This man's wife suffered severe shock when their windows were blown out by the blast. But he says they're lucky to be alive. His thoughts go out to the many young victims of the second attack.
I think about all the children who was killed in the island. I think it's for all the parents. This is a catastrophe.
The two atrocities produced many acts of heroism. But as the dust settles on the world's worst mass shooting, experts say there's also a rising anger that the attacks were allowed to happen in the first place. Anger that authorities ignored dozens of hate messages from suspect Anders Behring Breivik.
We haven't really been prepared for right-wing extremism.
Breivik expressed fury at the government's open-door policy on immigration in numerous blogs and Twitter feeds. Analysts add the shootings may reflect growing national opposition to failed immigration policies.
The political establishment of Norway are relatively well-off people that live in areas where there are simply no immigrants. So that there's a poor people in Norway that are being pushed out of places they used to live in, and it's also their jobs that are in jeopardy.
Muslims claim there's disappointment that the killer turned out to be white.
They want this guy to be Muslim or how a Muslim, you know. It is for them it's a little bit strange because he's Norwegian. So they talk too much about Islam and about us. It is not good.
Norwegians are said to be fed up with their brand of what's been dubbed radical liberalism. It's the country's multicultural policies that turn the gunman against his own.
In Norway, the far-right sentiment is wider than Norwegians are ready to admit, and there's a polite and respectful attitude towards that kind of views in mainstream media. But the reality is that 50% of Norwegians are against multiculturalism.
As people here try to pick up the pieces and bring meaning to this twin attack, they're already saying it will sour relations between communities. Some expect a crackdown by police on the EU's growing far-right movements, while others fear this will only fuel resentment against Europe's Muslims.
Victims are beginning to piece back together their shattered lives, but experts warn this might not be the last such attack, as outrage at the perceived failure of a multicultural society grows. Daniel Bushell, RT, Oslo.